G'day viewers, welcome to another video. Before we get started, I'd like to ask, could you please hit the like button? It helps me with the YouTube algorithm and will help them decide who to share it to. It just progresses my channel, helps me out. And also, if you haven't subscribed, could you please do that, because 75% of my viewers aren't subscribed. It would mean a lot to me. It'd help me grow my channel. Thank you. G'day viewers, welcome to another video. I've just had another refine come in, another tile refine, and there was a bucket of BGAs mixed. I've been through and sorted out all the RAM and the normal flat BGAs. So what I mean by that is these ones are generally found on RAM sticks. These ones can be soldered straight to the motherboards or so on. So I'm going to do them all as RAM. I'll weigh those up, see what the start weight is. But with these gold corner BGAs, I have to first take off the fibre, because the fibre is no good. Some people may argue it. When I take off the fibre, it looks like there's nice gold underneath. There's been plenty of people on YouTube who have done videos on this to show that there's not enough gold in the fibre worth doing. You see all that gold there? It looks really good, but trust me, they're not worth doing. I mean, you might get some gold, but for the amount of acid it would take to use to do it, not worth it. And I've tried it, I've done videos, I know other people have done videos on it. I will eventually get around to doing another one someday just to show, because there's a lot of doubt out there. But this is basically rubbish, and this is what you want. So I've got to go through the whole bucket and take all the fibres off, and then I can weigh it up and see what we're starting with. So I'm going to explain to you how I take the fibres off. There's no right or wrong way. Lots of people have got their way of doing it. This is what works for me. So you need a pair of wire cutters, and you only put it halfway up the board. So don't put it all the way up, and don't go just on the corner. You want it halfway. And you don't do this motion, because all you're going to do is bend the fibre board. You want to do a lever motion like that. So halfway, hold this really tight and just bend down on the corner, just enough to loosen it. Then you go to the next corner, and then you go to the next corner, and then you go to the next corner. Now there are going to be some that are difficult. There's always going to be one that's difficult, and most of them just come straight off like that. So I'll show you again. Some of them fall off real easy, and some of them really don't want to come off. For the most part, they're pretty good. So just crack the corner. I know some people probably use a blade and get under there with a blade, and that could work. I'm not saying it won't, but there you go. That's how I do them. I'll do one more. Doesn't matter what size it is, they all vary in size. I've got to scrape the heat gel, whatever that stuff is, off there. Bend the corner down, bend the corner down, and there it goes. Now let's get my knife and scrape off this heat stuff, because you don't want anything introduced to the solution. You're trying to remove any contaminants, not introduce them. You could wash this, I suppose, if you want to. I generally just take off what I can with a knife, wipe it with a cloth even. It's usually quite easy to off. This one's really sticky, as it would be as soon as you try and film. When I'm not using the camera, everything works really easily, and as soon as you put the camera on, it changes. But there you go. Now this one has a copper disc. Well, I say disc, it looks like a disc, but it's actually not. It goes to the corners, but there's ceramic on the course, or epoxy, whatever it is, on top of the corners of it, so it looks like a round disc. There was one in here with copper bent up. Here we go. Don't know if you can see that, but there's a bit of epoxy on the corner here. You see that, how the copper is square now? It's got a corner to it. So this would be the same all the way around, like so. And that would dramatically increase the weight if you were to buy these by the weight. So whenever you're buying BGAs, gold corner BGAs, and you're buying them by the weight, you want to make sure firstly that the fibre has taken off, because you're paying for something you can't use, and take into account if they have copper heat sinks included in them, because that would also put the weight out. Alright, so there's no point in me showing you every one, there's quite a few in here. I'll just carry on, and I'll be back when it's all finished and we can get a weight. Okay, so I'm going to weigh the bowl. If I turn it on with that on there, it's as good as tearing it. See how it says 0? Take that off, put the bowl on. We have 605 grams of gold corner BGAs. Alright, and now I'm going to put the bowl back on there, should be 0, and put these BGAs in there. 105. So all up to 710, just say 710 grams is bugger all. So 700 grams of BGAs. Now they can be processed in exactly the same way. They can be processed together, which is what I'm going to do, because there's such a small amount here. There's a bit, not much really. But these first have to go in HCl to remove the solder balls, and that's why they call them solder grid. BGA is ball grid array, balls of solder, right, in a grid form. All the BGAs you'll see have a grid form on the bottom of solder. These don't, okay, and they weren't soldered to the board because they were on the fibre, and I've taken the fibre off. So there's no solder on them at all. So these, before we can start, are going to go in HCl. Actually, there's a bit of rubbish there. Take that out. So I'm going to go and put these into some HCl now. Leave them for a day or so, and then they can all go together and be burnt and crushed. Alright. So I'll go and do that now. Okay, so I've got a decent sized beaker. It doesn't need to be this big. It's just what I found first one I found, so plus it helps to spread them around. Another piece of rubbish in there, don't know what that's in there for. Nothing else in there that shouldn't be there. I think this is my granddaughter playing silly games. No, that's alright. Okay. Now here, you've probably seen in my last few videos, I've been storing used HCl, and it doesn't need to be hot, but it's a stinking hot day, and I'm just going to put this out in the sun. It just helps to speed it up a little bit. So pour in enough to cover everything, and that's it. That's all it's got to be. I'll take that out in the sun, and by tomorrow I should be able to, because I'm busy for the rest of the day today. It would be fine in an hour or two, but I'm going out, so tomorrow I'll be able to pour off the HCl. I'll pour it back into there, still got plenty of use, and wash it, and then we'll proceed. So take it out into the middle of the sun on a hot paver, radiate the heat. I'll leave it there till tomorrow. The BGAs have been soaking in the hydrochloric acid for 3 days. Didn't mean it'd be this long, but life got in the way, Easter and all the rest of it. So I'm pouring this off, and I won't reuse this because there's so much tin in there. I don't want to take the chance that the tin gets transferred to any solutions that I do. And give this a rinse out. Try and get rid of all that metastatic acid that's in there. See all that black liquid? That's all metastatic acid. I'm going to try and get all that out. It doesn't really matter too much because I'm going to be incinerating these anyway, but just for the sake of it, I just want to get it out. So that'll do now. And I'm going to start the fire. Now that the summer's gone, there's no fire restrictions, I can press on with these. And so the gold corner BGAs and the BGAs themselves can all be mixed together now and processed the same way. I'll do them all together, and hopefully get a lot of it done today. It'd be nice. I got no plans, so unless some people come and visit, I should be right to press on. Okay, so I'm going to put these gold corner BGAs in first, and some of the normal BGAs, even though they're wet, that won't matter, they will dry out pretty quick in this fire. So I'm going to put a handful in. And pick up the one that just escaped, if I can find it. I'll look for it in a second. I'll put a couple of these in. Now, I've seen people making the mistake of filling their tin to the top and then wondering why, no matter how long they burnt them for, no matter how they were glowing red, they still come out black. And the reason why is because they weren't oxidized. Now you need to have just a small amount on the bottom, let them really roast, and then add another little pile on top, and then add a little pile, and so on, and keep doing it that way so that they get a chance to oxidize. And it won't matter how much they're glowing red, if they don't get oxidized, they won't turn white, they're no good, because they're going to have carbon in them. And you have to make sure they're as white as you can get them. So don't make the mistake of filling the tin up. So they're going to go on the fire now, and I'll just keep adding chips, and I won't show that part, it's pretty boring. I'll be back when they're all done. So the BGAs have all been roasted, and I'm cheating. I'll take the top off my crusher and put them in there, that way it's easier, because it's all powdery, and trying to put it in through the top, but powder was going everywhere. So this is much easier, and I've already done most of it because I had company here and I didn't want to be filming while he was here, so I just carried on and just left this last bit to show you guys. So I'm putting the BGAs through the crusher, and I'll tell you what, I love this toy so much. Within minutes, within seconds, it's like powder, talcum powder, soft. I'll show you when I do this one here. And strain it into the bucket, and all the bits of copper heatsink that were in there, it beats them up crazy like little balls. I'll show you when we've done this here. They're all beat up round little balls. They used to be flat copper heat sinks. And the worst thing is now there could be gold trapped in there as it's all beat up and bent around. So I'm gonna dissolve it all in nitric, even though it's probably a waste, but just in case there's gold trapped in them. And what I've done is I've swapped over to an electric grinder, and because the battery one, once there's a bit of resistance in there, it doesn't like it and turns off. But this is a good one, and it powers on really well. That's all I need, just that few seconds, and it'll be dust. I've seen some of these on the market, and they've got a spout at the bottom here, and that'd be a better way to go. I might one day cut a hole saw into it and put a welder pipe on there. That's the only grief I've got with this. I love this toy so much, but the only grief is I wish it had a tube here. What they've done now with the models that they're making now, they've got slits under here. They go that way, long slits, and there's a square tube on it, and then it sits on a rack. There's like a stand coming off this, and you put a container underneath, and as all the dust falls out into the pan. But I think there would still be a lot of stuff caught inside. Obviously all the heat sinks and that wouldn't come through, so you'd still have to take the front off. That's where a pipe at the front would be better. When I take this off, you watch this. That's talcum powder. So I'm going to get a paintbrush now and brush all that off. And I'll tip this into the sieve there, and sieve it into the bucket. So I'll go and get the paintbrush, and then I'll show you. And then I'll show you what the copper heat sinks look like after it's been through this. So it's not the easiest thing to hold. I had a bracket on the last grinder, and the bracket doesn't line up with this one, so I've got to re-modify it. Make sure I get all this dust out of here. I'll tip this. I'll do this in a second off camera. I'll tip this into here. And then I'll brush that out as well. So now I just sieve this. And look at that. All those little balls here were flat heat sinks. They're all beaten to a pulp. So there could be gold trapped in those. Look how it's all rounded, all beat up round. There could be anything in there. And it's going to be annoying to have to go through every one of them and straighten them out. So I'll end up just dissolving them in acid anyway. It's like I need a new strainer. This one's falling apart. So now I've got to put those with all the rest. So that's all the BGA's heat sinks. I'll put that in a separate beaker and treat that separately. So I've got to finish brushing this off into here. Okay, now I'm not going to do the crusher on camera, it will take too long. So now basically what I need to do is gravity separation on all that dust. So I'll go out and do that. I'll show you that. Okay, so I know I've showed this plenty of times before, but I'm happy to show it again. So I'm going to do a gravity separation. What I do is I squirt all the residue here, let it sit for a bit, and pour it into that bucket. So if anything good does make it across, I don't lose it. I'll show you as I go. So to start with, I like to put it on jet, and that way I can really give it a good squirt and make sure that everything gets wet. And I find the pressure helps to liberate any dust off anything that's good in there. I use a high bucket so that any splashes that come up aren't going to come out of the bucket. It's better than using a small one. If I was to use a gentle spray, then the residue on the bottom wouldn't get touched. But this way, it's so much force, it makes everything swirl around in there. A lot of times when I see videos of people doing separation, they end up with all this stuff floating on top because they've poured the water in too gently, and a lot of it has the powder stuck to it, and it's hydrophobic, so it just floats. Whereas I put so much effort, like the force into it, that it stops it being hydrophobic and it makes everything get coated. And the most that you'll see floating on the top when I do it is a thin film, at the very most, a thin film of really, really light dust. There's definitely no gold or anything heavy in it. And for those who say I should be using dish soap, I've tried using dish soap in one of my last videos and proved that it makes no difference, for me anyway. So I don't go all the way to the top. About now, where it is now is fine, and I just give it a second to sit so that anything heavy has a chance to settle to the bottom. And then I'll pour it into there gently. I don't go all the way, I just do just over half. The idea here is to just get rid of the ash, only the light stuff, anything really light. I definitely think this is a better way to go. When you're just pouring water in from a jug or something, it's not really enough, and you probably need to vigorously stir it. But this way, it's really good having the power, the jet of water, forcing everything to get wet, and it makes everything move around. It doesn't really matter what size your second bucket is. It can be a small container, it makes no difference, because all that's going to do is catch anything that may go across. But I definitely think it's important for the first bucket to be a tall one. And just give it that couple of seconds to sit. And I'm not pouring heavy enough or hard enough for the heavy stuff to make it out. I'm only just doing it lightly so that the top dust comes off. I've had people ask me, why do we even need to do this? Why can't we just put all of it in acid? And I'm telling you now, the fine dust is near impossible to filter. It'll block your filter in seconds and it takes forever to filter something. That's why you need to get rid of that fine ash. This hose looks like it's about to pop off here, so I'm just going to cut the film while I go and fix that. Okay. I also find if you're using a small container, you need to do lots and lots and lots of pours. With a tall container like this, you know, 4 or 5 pour and you've pretty much got rid of most of it. Okay, give it a second to sit. Anything heavy would sit pretty quickly, like no more than 2 or 3 seconds is more than fine. But if you want to be sure, just wait, 10 seconds or so. And the idea is to keep going until you see the water coming off clear. Now it's still got a light haze to it. You want crystal clean water coming off, and then you know you've done well enough. I'll see if I can show you the sediment. You see the rough sediment that's in there? Now, I've said this in other videos, I've tested what goes into that bucket on numerous occasions just to make sure that I'm not actually pouring anything out of here, any gold. and every time I've tested what lands in here, there's never been any gold in there. But I still do it as a fail-safe reason. It's better off doing it than to not, just in case. This doesn't take very long, but like anything with preparation, like you say, you're going to spray paint a car, the more preparation you take, the better the job. Same with this. The more you want to spend doing this, the better chance you're going to have all the ash gone, and the better result you'll have. See, that's still murky, but it's getting there. I can still see some fine ash coming out. I can afford to go a little bit lower now, pour a little bit more out, because I know that it's just all heavy stuff now. See that sediment? And it's this fine ash that's coming out. But I won't go right to the bottom. I'll leave that little bit there so I know that all the heavy stuff wasn't coming out. And you can see how putting pressure on it is making sure that it all gets worked. If you wanted to put dish soap in there, you certainly could. There's no problems doing that. I don't think I need to. I know I don't need to, but if you wanted to, by all means. I'll show you what's being caught in here. It's just silt. Can you see that? There's nothing heavy in it. It's just thick silt from all the chips. So what I do now, when I get close to the end, because this is fairly clean, I just squirt that back in here for one last go, so that give it one more shot, and then I know that definitely it's all good. When I say one more go, I mean one more go at that, what was in there being treated. So it's all going to depend now on how dirty this water is as to how many times I keep going. It's going to be fairly dirty because I just poured a lot of silt back in. You can see, I don't know if you can see it, but there's black silt coming over. I can afford to go a little bit more now. Not quite all of the water, but most of it. Can you see all that? It's just heavy sediment. This is the silt. probably won't need to go a full bucket now because it's so clean. Just give it a couple of seconds. Now, because there's a very high possibility of silver being in these chips, and I'm using tap water, when I get finished with the cleaning, the separation, I need to rinse it thoroughly with distilled water, because you don't want tap water in your solution. See the silt coming out? It's getting there, it's pretty good. While there's still some silt coming up here, I know there's still some in there. I'll give it one more go, it should be enough. Now with this pour, I want to try and remove as much water as I can, because I want to clean it, rinse it out. So I'll come this way so I can watch exactly what's happening. Can you see that silt coming over? Don't know if it's showing up on camera or not. All that stuff there is fine if that comes out, that's only silt. It's just a little bit heavier than the rest. All the gold and heavy stuff is right down the bottom. This is just thicker pieces of chips. So I'll let that sit. I'll give it a rinse down with some distilled water. You know, put a fair bit in there, swirl it around, let it sit, and then pour some more out. I'll keep doing that till it's free of tap water. What a waste of a day. I started doing this morning, and then visitors came over and they hung around all day. I got nothing done. I could have this finished by now. So I've got to put some distilled water in there, give it a rinse. Most of it's dried now, which is, I guess it's alright, although there still could be traces of chlorine in it. Two rinses should be fine, since it was dry. Okay, I've got a clean beaker here. It may not look clean, my beakers are all stained, but it is clean. So now I'm going to put this and that's roughly about how much water I want in there, which is good. I'll put some nitric acid in. Actually, what I'm going to do is similar to my last video, even though I don't like using measurements. I'm going to roughly describe how much I use so that you guys can work out for yourself if this is viable going by your prices of nitric acid. There's no point telling you the water because, I don't know, a couple of bucks. $3 or something here, $3.50. So there's 4. It's usually what I can fit in a pipette. For some reason it doesn't go right up to 5. So it's 4 mils. I'll do 8 mils for now. It'll probably use a lot more than that because there's a lot of copper in there. So that's 8 mils. And I'll just leave it sit for now. I'm not going to put it on heat just yet. I'll do it tomorrow. Give that a chance to just react with the copper and everything. I don't want it to sort of overflow, and that's usually what happens when there's a lot of copper. So overnight that'll just slowly start eating it. And tomorrow morning I'll be able to put some more in and then put it on the heat. And all the metal that came out of it is all beat up into a ball because of the crusher, and I really can't be bothered trying to flatten them all out to see if there's any gold caught in there. So I'm just going to bite the bullet and use up some acid and dissolve them too. But I won't put the volume of acid used in this count because you guys don't have to do that if you don't want to. You could use AP, or you could just leave them out. So I'll only count the amount of acid we use on this. So I'll put a plate on top. If I can find one. This might do. And it stops any rubbish getting in and bugs and so on. And I'll come back tomorrow morning and see how it's going and put it on heat. There's the coarse material that was in there. That's all the heat sinks all beat up, plus some larger stuff that made it through. So there could be gold in there, and I don't want to leave anything behind because it's not my stuff, it's someone else's. I'm refining it for somebody, so I want to make sure that I get as much gold as I can for him. There's going to be a lot of copper in there for sure, so I need to make sure there's enough water for the copper to have somewhere to go. I'm just going to pour some nitric in. It's going to take quite a bit. Anything I don't use, if there is any excess nitric left over, it goes in my silver bucket so I don't waste it. But I'll just let that sit for now. I'll move it over into the sun, get the last little bit of sunlight before the day's end. I can't believe I've wasted a full day. I'm so annoyed. See the copper here? Not sure how well you can see that. So I'll be back in the morning. It's the next day, so I'm going to put these on some heat now and see what happens when they warm up. They might need some more acid poured in, or they might be fine just the way they are. See what happens with that. Both the solutions are starting to warm up, and I can see a reaction starting. There's a few bubbles coming up, and you can see fumes that are starting to gather in the beaker. That's why it's important to have a lid on it, not only to keep the heat in, but to allow you to see the fumes, so you know when there's a reaction. You can't always go by the bubbles. So give it some more time. May need to add more nitric when it stops. The reaction started slowing down, so I'm going to put 8 in before. I'm going to put 20 mils in this time because there's still plenty to dissolve. See the reaction starting to come back, the fumes. Okay, that's 20 mils. See what happens with that. I've added 3 lots of 20 mils off camera. I think the reaction's slowing down. I've just put the last 20 mil in there. And I can see some fumes, but not much. So we're getting close to the end of the nitric boil. So the reaction has stopped for the fine sediment, the Bgas. And when I added more nitric, nothing happened. So I'm now filtering it and rinsing it as best I can to get as much of that solution out of there as possible. The coarse material is still going crazy, so I'll keep that going. Once I've rinsed this thoroughly, there's no colour left in it, and I'm sure that all the nitric is gone, then I'll put in aqua regia. So I'm still filtering the solution. It's taken a while because a lot of the light sediment has gone onto the paper. That's what I was saying about having any dust in there. It makes it really hard to filter. But while I was at it, I thought I would see what gold is there. Now if I do this, it's kind of like panning for gold, making all the gold settle to the bottom. And then look at that. Beautiful gold. That's all gold. Nice. Looking forward to that. I had 2 filters going to speed it up. I've now finished filtering out the nitric solution and the rinse water, and I've put some hydrochloric acid in, and I didn't realise there was no stickers left on the beaker to say how much is in there, but I can only guess it's about I don't know, 200 mil. All my beakers all got no numbers left on them. They wear off after a while, so I'm guessing about 200 mil. But nitric's the main one everyone's worried about anyway, so I think I only need about 4 mils to start with. We'll see how that goes. Small amounts rather than putting a lot in, then I don't have to denox and waste nitric acid. So I'll put that on the heat and see how we go. Might need to add some more later. It's better to add some than put too much. The reaction has died down, so I'm going to put some more nitric in. 4 mils in there. That should well and truly be enough. Is it going to overflow? No, I was lucky. So we'll see how that goes. I've put another 8 mils of nitric in off camera, and it's very slow now. And this is the coarse stuff. The nitric bath has been rinsed off, and I put a little bit of aqua regia in there. I didn't want to mix it with the other things over there because I just didn't like the look of the sediment. It looked like it might have had aluminium or something in there, and it's reacting straight away even off heat. It's just cold room temperature because it's a hot day today, so there's definitely a reaction. I don't know if it means there's gold in there or what it's reacting with, but whatever it was, it stopped reacting to nitric. So just gotta wait and see now. Whatever it is, it's moving around the beaker. Anyway, there's 3 mils of nitric in there. So what are we up to? 8, 16, 17, 18, 19. I'd say roughly about 20 mils of nitric have been used so far, all up. I have to write it down, I can't remember. We'll say 20 mils so far. I've had the aqua regia filtering all night long, and as you can see, there's still some in there. And that is because of the light ash. Now this is exactly why I said to you during the gravity separation that you want to remove as much of that ash as possible, because it is so fine it'll just block your filters. So I have a filter here from where I made aqua regia with the coarse solution, and I tested that and there is no gold in solution. So I'll get that out of our way and use that filter for the rest of this, because this is clearly not going to drain. I'll try and leave the ash in there if I can. A little bit of it won't matter. Most of it's already in the filter. You can see in there, right down in there, all that thick sludge. So I'll leave that like that now. And I'll give it a bit of a squirt down, try and get as much of the gold solution out of the filter paper as I can. It'll probably block up again, but so be it. Same with this one, I'll try and wet up here where there was solution. But this one's in 2 filter papers. This one was in 1 filter paper with a cotton ball in the bottom. And even though it came through with a cotton ball to make sure all the small parts don't come through, it's still not very clear for my liking. So I'm going to set up a second filter in this empty beaker here and refilter it. I'm going to find another filter. This one, can use this one for now. This is finished. Had a spill yesterday and some of it got on my filter papers. I wasn't impressed, but they'll still work. It's under the corner. It is nice and clear, but I just want to try and get it better. That'll do for now. Give that spout a bit of a squirt. Ooh. so careless sometimes. I'm a fumbling idiot. I swear I'm all thumbs. Yeah, that's coming through nice and clear now. It's good. I've got a lot of jobs on at the moment, but that's looking really good. So once all this is filtered, I'll put it through there as well, and then we can drop the gold. Now, there still seems to be a lot of sediment floating in the solution, and in order to get purity you need to get rid of all that sediment. So this is the one that I had in the tall beaker with the filter paper, but I've just put another cotton ball just by itself in another funnel, and then poured what was in here into there, so it's only going through a cotton ball. And the cotton ball should this time make sure that a lot of the small stuff doesn't get through. I know that it was cotton ball in the first time, it would have stopped a lot of it, but one more goes through a cotton ball should finish it, hopefully. So once that's filtered, that'll go into here. I just want to try and get it as clear as possible, because this isn't for me, this is someone else's gold. I get a bit of it, but I want to make sure that when he takes it away to sell, it comes back as pure as possible. Otherwise I look silly. So you know, if you're ever doing this for somebody, you're refining somebody's gear, A, you want to make sure you get as much gold as you can for them, and B, as clear as possible, as pure as you can get it. But you know, your word of mouth spreads around. If they say, oh, you're no good at this, then you're not going to get repeat work. So you know, I don't want to rush it and just drop the gold now. I'd rather take my time, let it filter as many times as need be, get it nice and clean, and then drop the gold. Okay, that's about as clean as I'm going to get it. It's been filtered for 4 or 5 times now, so it's going to need to be refined anyway. And I've got some iron solution here, roughly about the same amount as what solution is there. So I'm just going to pour the rest of this in. Nice colour change straight away. That's good. And now I'm just going to wait until that sits. And until the gold drops. We will wash the gold thoroughly, and then we will refine it a second time. So I can't do much now until the gold drops and settles. Okay, so the gold has settled. Looks quite nice. Pour off the liquid. There's the gold. Beautiful. Now I'm going to go through the wash procedure. And this is critical, guys. This is just as important as dissolving it in the first place. If you don't go through the wash procedure properly, you're not going to get pure gold. Give it a good rinse. Try and get all that iron solution off it. It's settling quite nicely, which is good. I don't see any colloidal gold in there. A little bit hard to tell because it's still dirty, but the gold's all sitting in the middle there nicely. Water wash one. Not as much there as I thought I'd get, but you can never tell when it's in powdered form. Looks can be deceiving, or sometimes you look at it and think there's a lot and there's not. Let's wait for that to settle. Water wash 2. Number 3. Okay, now I'm going to put some hydrochloric acid in and give it a boil. I might even do a second hydrochloric acid boiled because I want to make sure all that iron from the iron sulfate is out of the solution. We'll wait and see what colour it comes out as. Alright, so we'll let that boil for a while. We'll come back. Alright, so it's been boiling for an hour. I like to save my acids if I can reuse them. I'm saving that hydrochloric acid because I've got things I need it for. Hot water wash once. It's actually looking quite good. It's a nice colour now. I don't think I need a second hydrochloric acid boil, just one will do. When the rinse water comes out clear like that, it's usually fine. Just give it a chance to settle. I'm not surprised really that there's not a whole lot there because it was only a small batch that we started with, and if it was all gold corner BGAs instead of some of them just normal BGAs, there'd be more gold again. But it's not bad. It's not a bad little pile for what we started with. Do one more water wash. It's all clumping up nicely. It's looking pretty good. Now, even though that looks nice and it's probably pure enough as it is, I'm going to re-dissolve it. So hydrochloric acid in and small amounts of nitric as I need it. So I'll start with 4 mils. Let's see how that is. I'll come back soon, 5-10 minutes or so, and see if there's still gold in there. If there is, I'll put another mil or 2 in there. If not, then good. I know I haven't over nitric, so I won't need to denox, which is just a waste of acid. So we'll come back soon. Okay, I came back about 10 minutes ago and there was just the tiniest little bit of gold left. I put 1 mil in there and it seems to have all dissolved nicely. So I'm going to put some ice in now to cool it down, just in case there is some silver left in solution. I don't even know if there was silver in there, just in case. So I'm putting some ice in there, just in case there's any silver in solution, and cool it down nicely, and it should drop out if there is. I don't even know if there's any in there, but just in case. This ice is made from distilled water. So not only does it help drop silver, but it also helps the drop, the gold drop, makes it a better drop. But before I do that, I want to filter it. So I'll go and get a beaker so I can filter it into, and I'll be back. It's important whenever you're refining gold to always use a really clean beaker. And for this one, I've just grabbed one of my brand new ones out of the cupboard. Haven't used this one yet. We'll filter the gold and see how well it comes out. If it doesn't come out nice and clear, I'll run it through again. I might even use a cotton ball. We'll see how it comes out. It's looking nice and clean so far. It's coming through there really clear, which is good. Probably take a couple of minutes. I'll be back when it's done. Okay, it's all filtered through, and I've squirted out the filter, get as much as I can out of it until it ran clear. Now I have some SMB dissolved in water and wait for a dark colour change, hopefully straight away. Beautiful, look at that. Perfect. So now I'll just wait for it to settle, give it a wash and melt it up, see what we get. Okay, it's the next day. I've got jobs on everywhere, so many beakers. The gold has settled, so pour off the solution. And it's all settling nicely on the bottom. There's our gold. Looking good. So I'm going to do some hot water boils. I'll go and get the kettle and I'll be back. Okay, water wash number 1. There are so many jobs on the go. Between filtering things and dissolving things, and when this job's over, there's one less job on the table to do. It's settling nice and fast, which is a good thing. Beautiful. It's going to be some good gold if it settles that fast. Wash number 2. So I'm curious, what sort of activities are you guys up to? Are you refining anything? Are you scrapping? Let me know down below what you guys are doing. Do you have as many jobs on as I have? I'll tell you what, it gets confusing which beaker's for what. That's why I've started writing on the beakers. I can't even remember how many washes that was now. My head's all over the place. I'll do one more just in case. Doesn't hurt to do more. I just made up some more iron sulfate. My jar's full again. That took all night because I got to dissolve it and then filter it, and then the filter binds up with crystals, and you got to dissolve the crystals, put some hot water in there, and then go again. And it's a pain, but it's better to use than SMB, I reckon. Okay, there's a look at our gold. Nice. So I'm going to put some distilled water in there. Give it a rinse. Get one rinse with distilled water. Because the water I was using is the tap water for the kettle. And it doesn't really matter when you're just rinsing, as long as you, like, I'm going to go to the next step with a hydrochloric acid boil. I want to make sure there's distilled water in there. Okay, I poured that off. I'm just going to put a little bit of water in there now. And some hydrochloric acid. And I'm going to put it on the heat and boil it for at least an hour, and then see what it looks like from there. Give my watch glass a bit of a clean. Everything up here gets really dusty. Every day, I don't know how, but dust gets all over everything. Alright, we're back in an hour. Alright, so it's been boiling for an hour, and you can see the green colour. There's some sort of impurity that the hydrochloric acid has taken out, which is a good thing. There's a nice pile in there. I don't know if it's going to be much, but it looks nice. Now, what am I up to? Hot water. Hot water 1. Settles nice and fast. It's a good sign. Hot water 2. Hot water 3. how fast it settles. Okay, now I'm going to put some distilled water in there and a little bit of nitric acid, and we'll give it a nitric boil. Only need to use about 1 mil, and don't need much at all. It's 1 mil. That should be plenty. And put it back on the heat for another hour. And then that should hopefully be like a nice caramel milk chocolate colour after the nitric boil. Alright, so it's had a nice nitric boil, and as you can probably see, it's gone a nice caramel colour. I'll pour this nitric off in my silver bucket. I know you probably can't see what I'm doing. Alright, I'll give it some distilled water washes. I don't have any hot water, so that's alright. Alright, beautiful. I really wish I was good at guessing how much is there. It's so hard to guess when it's in powder form. I don't know why, but the distilled water makes it go colloidal. Most of it's settling pretty quickly. There we go. Just for that few seconds. I'll give it one more rinse. And by the way, the gold that was settled in the bottom of this beaker before, I've returned back into there. I don't know if I mentioned it to you before or not. Pretty sure I did, but just in case. Okay, I've got a melt dish here ready to go. I've only melted gold in it last video I did with gold. Okay, let's get some water out of it and then we can go and melt it. Okay, I'm going to take this around the melt desk so I can melt it up. Okay, I've got a soft flame to start with. Just go around the edges and let it form a crust on top. That way it won't blow out. This is the way I prefer to melt gold, in a powder form. I don't like putting it in filters, because every time a bit of paper from the filter blows out, I wonder if there was gold on it. This way it forms a crust and then it won't blow out. It's a very low flame at the moment. Just drying out the powder. A bit of borax. Now I can put a bit more heat into it. Just moving it around the melt dish so that it catches all the little bits of gold. Doesn't look like there's much there. I was hoping to get over 5, but 3.44 is what we got. It'll probably be 3.40 or something by the time I get the borax off. I need to soak it in some diluted sulfuric to get the borax off. It should come up nice and shiny. So not as much as I hoped for, but could be a lot less. It's always, could always be worse. So I hope this was enjoyable to watch, and I hope you learnt something. If you did, please like and subscribe. If you think you get value out of my movies and my videos, maybe you'd like to consider being a member. It costs less than the cost of a cup of coffee. And then members go into extra draws when I have giveaways. It'll really support my channel. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.